Two men skate onto the same sheet of ice, and the whole arena believes they hate each other. Every hit is personal. Every trash-talking smirk looks real, because it is. Fans wear jerseys that say, "Beat Boston" and "Beat Montreal" like it's a religion. That is exactly what the world is allowed to see. What the world doesn't see is what happens 4 hours later. A condo with the blinds shut, bought under a name nobody would recognize. Two men who just spent 60 minutes trying to hurt each other in front of national television, sitting in silence on a couch, because neither one knows how to say the thing they actually feel. This is Shane Hollander and Ilya Rozanov. For 6 years, they were hockey's most famous rivalry. And for 6 years, they were also each other's best-kept secret. Stay with me, because this story does not go where you think it goes. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're telling the story of Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reid. If you're new here, subscribe for more stories like this one. Let's get into it. Picture professional hockey at its biggest stage. Millions of viewers, locker rooms full of teammates and cameras and reporters. A sport that has never once had an openly gay superstar standing at its center. That's the world Shane and Ilya are born into, and it shapes every choice they make for the next decade of their lives. Their story starts before either of them is famous. At the World Junior Championships, Canada against Russia, gold on the line. Shane is the Canadian golden boy. Polite, controlled, quietly brilliant on the ice. Ilya is his opposite. Loud, cocky, magnetic, the kind of player who talks trash mid-shift and then backs it up with a goal. The media has already decided these two hate each other before they've even spoken a word to one another. And Ilya seems determined to make that true. He's cold to Shane, dismissive. When Russia beats Canada on Canadian ice, he smirks at him in the handshake line and tells him, almost like a warning, that they'll meet again. They do. A few months later, at the NHL Draft, Boston takes Ilya first overall. Montreal takes Shane right behind him at number 2. That night, wide awake and restless in a hotel room that isn't home yet, Shane goes down to the gym alone at almost midnight. Ilya walks in and takes the treadmill next to him without a word. Neither of them says anything for a long time. They just run faster and faster, turning something as simple as a treadmill into a fight neither one will admit they're having. When they finally stop, chests heaving, they end up sitting on the floor together, actually talking, maybe for the first time like real people instead of rivals. And when Ilya hands him a water bottle, their fingers brush. Shane feels something he doesn't have a word for yet. It scares him enough that he walks away without explaining why, and spends the rest of the night trying and failing to think about anything else. So the pattern sets in early, and it's going to run for years. In public, enemies. In private, something neither of them can stay away from, no matter how hard they try. It's their rookie season, and a joint endorsement shoot for a sports brand turns into shared laughter in a locker room, and shared laughter turns into a hotel room later that night. It's Shane's first time with another man. Ilya's the one who initiates it, teasing him first, noticing the attraction Shane can't quite hide. And Ilya's the one who leaves after. No lingering goodbye, no promise of what comes next. Remember that detail. It's going to matter for years. Ilya's instinct, over and over in the story, is to walk away first, before anyone gets the chance to leave him. The league keeps pitting them against each other at every turn. Same press conferences, same skills competitions, same headlines, painting them as bitter enemies who can't stand to be in the same room. And underneath all of it, they keep finding each other anyway. Hotel rooms on the road, phones saved under fake female names, so nobody would ever guess who was texting who. Stolen hours that always end the same way. One of them walks away first, before the other one can. By the end of that rookie season, they're tied for the league lead in goals, and Shane wins Rookie of the Year. At the awards party in Vegas, up on a rooftop, alone with Shane for a rare, quiet moment, Ilya tells him he's flying back to Russia in 3 days. Then he kisses him. Shane panics. He pulls away. And here's the thing, that fear isn't nothing. Shane won't even let Ilya see his real apartment. Every meeting happens in a hotel, or eventually in a secret condo Shane buys just so they have somewhere untraceable to anyone who might be watching. He keeps dating women. trying to convince himself more than anyone else that he's straight. Ilya builds a public reputation as a womanizer, a shield so nobody ever asks the real question. And from opposite ends of the league, they watch each other obsessively. Every goal, every headline, every single interview, while telling anyone who asks that the other means absolutely nothing to them. Now stay with me here, because what happens next is the moment that changes everything between them. And it starts with a phone call that never gets answered. The Sochi Olympics. Shane texts Ilya to check on him and gets nothing back. Team Russia collapses and gets knocked out early on home ice in front of their entire country. Ilya's father, a strict, unforgiving police official, blames his son publicly for it in a way that follows Ilya for years. When Shane finally finds him at the arena afterward, Ilya shuts him down cold, tells him flatly that they mean nothing to each other, walks away without looking back. Because here's what Shane doesn't fully understand yet. Ilya isn't just scared of bad press or an uncomfortable locker room. He's the son of a man who has made his views on men, like his son, violently clear his entire life. If Ilya ever lived openly, he might not be able to go home again, not safely. And underneath that fear sits something even heavier. Ilya's mother, warm and loving, but quietly, deeply sad, died by suicide when he was 12 years old. His father told the world it was an accident. Ilya was the one who found her. That's what Ilya carries on to the ice every single night, hidden underneath the arrogance and the swagger and the trash talk. Because it's so much easier to be the villain everyone loves to boo than to be the boy who lost his mother. Terrified of ever becoming someone his own father could destroy too. 6 months later, at the NHL Awards, they're paired together as presenters, forced back into the same room. Ilya arrives late. On stage, under the lights, they joke easily for the cameras like nothing ever happened between them. But backstage, alone, the tension finally breaks. Ilya wins MVP that night, and in the private moment right after, he takes control in a way that feels less like affection and more like a power play, like he's trying to prove something to himself as much as to Shane. Shane leaves that night without the goodbye he wanted and realizes, horrified, that he wanted one at all. By October of that year, they're back in their old routine: hotel rooms, stolen hours, secret condo. Then, for the first time, Shane visits Ilya's real apartment. Not a hotel, not neutral ground, the place Ilya actually lives. And that night, in the middle of everything, they use each other's first names instead of the jokes and code names they always hide behind. The intimacy of it overwhelms Shane completely. He panics and he runs. A week later, trying to outrun what just happened, Shane meets an actress named Rose at a club. She's funny, easy to be around, and for a while, being with her feels like genuine relief. For once, he actually likes being around a woman, and it lets him believe a little longer that the rest of it can stay buried where he's kept it for years. Ilya sees the headlines about them together and tells himself it doesn't matter. Then he spots them at a club in person, and jealousy proves him wrong. Shane and Rose don't last, and it doesn't end in anger. One night over dinner, Rose gently asks Shane the question he's been avoiding his entire adult life: whether he actually wants her or wants someone else entirely. Shane admits it, out loud, for the first time to anyone who isn't Ilya. He's been with a man before. It felt like something he'd never let himself feel with her. Rose doesn't get hurt about it. She just helps him finally say the thing he's been carrying silently for years. They part as friends. Not long after, Shane and Ilya land on the same all-star team for the first time, playing beside each other instead of against each other, and something cracks open between them on the ice. After a goal, Ilya kisses Shane's cheek and plays it off as a joke for the cameras. Later, walking alone on a beach, trying to calm himself down, Shane looks up and Ilya is there. He takes his hand in the dark, hands him a room number. This time it's different. In that hotel room, Shane finally says the words out loud. He thinks he's gay. Ilya tries to joke his way out of it, the way he always does when things get too real. Shane doesn't let him. He tells him the hardest part isn't being gay. The hardest part is wanting a real relationship with the man he spent years pretending to hate in front of the entire hockey world. And for the first time, Ilya doesn't run. He admits it, too. It's different with Shane. He just doesn't believe yet that different can survive in the world they both live in. If you're still with me, brace yourself, because grief is about to walk right into the middle of this relationship, and it changes both of them for good. The playoffs are heating up when Ilya's father dies. Shane waits for a message that never comes, only to learn Ilya has already flown to Moscow without a word. When Shane finally reaches him by phone, Ilya can barely get the words out in English through the grief. So Shane tells him something simple. Speak Russian. Let it out. Ilya does, unloading everything. And somewhere in that raw, unguarded call, they both admit out loud that they wish they were together, really together, not just stealing hours between road games. Shane invites him to his family's cottage in Ontario. Ilya doesn't say no. That night, on a video call, Shane shows Ilya his real bedroom, the one nobody else has ever seen, and admits that every other man he's ever been with felt hollow, because none of them were Ilya. And on the other end of that call, Ilya finally says the truth to himself he spent a decade running from. He loves Shane. He loves him enough that he decides, right then, to end it, believing walking away is the only way to protect Shane from a life Ilya's convinced would always have to stay hidden in the shadows. But this story isn't done with them yet. In the final regular season game between their two teams, mid-warm-up, faking the same hostility they've faked for years, while quietly confirming plans to meet later, Shane collides hard with another player and goes down, doesn't get up. He wakes to the sound of Ilya's voice breaking as medics strap him to a board, and even half-conscious, his first instinct is to warn Ilya that people are watching them. Even then, even in a moment like that, Shane survives it. A concussion, a broken collarbone, his season over. Ilya visits the hospital the next morning, and when they're finally alone, Shane asks him again about the cottage. Ilya only answers with a maybe. Recovering at his parents' house, watching Ilya play in the playoffs on television, Shane finally admits to himself what he's known for years. He loves this man. He just still can't say it to the people who matter most. Then someone else's courage changes everything. Another player, Scott Hunter, wins the Stanley Cup and kisses another man on live television. The first time anything like that has ever happened in this sport, watched by millions. Ilya calls Shane immediately and says 4 words. I'm coming to the cottage. Shane waits outside the airport, not fully believing he'll actually show up. He does. Hat pulled low, sunglasses on, barely speaking the whole drive out of nerves. But once they're alone at that cottage, everything that's been building for a decade finally has room to breathe. The initial awkwardness fades fast. They talk. They admit neither of them has been with anyone else since the last time. For the first time in this entire relationship, they sleep in the same bed. Not stolen hours, not a secret. Something real for once. Over the days that follow, sitting out on the deck, Shane finally admits he's never told his parents he's gay, and that the real problem was never his sexuality. It was loving the man the whole hockey world thinks is his enemy. That evening, by a bonfire, Ilya opens up about his mother in a way he never has with anyone. He tells Shane she was amazing but deeply sad, and that he was the one who found her. Shane just holds him while he grieves her, maybe for the first time in his adult life. And then, at the dock the next day, after Ilya pushes him laughing into the lake and jumps in after him, something shifts even further. Ilya tells him he loves him, first in Russian, then translated, because some things need to be said in the language closest to your heart before you can say them in any other. Everything comes to a head when they head back up to the house, and Shane's father, without warning, sees the two of them kissing on the deck. Years of fear come crashing down in a single second, but Ilya doesn't let him face it alone. He goes with him. Together, they sit down with Shane's parents and tell them the truth. Ilya doesn't hide behind soft language. He calls them what they are, lovers. And when Shane's parents ask the hardest question, how long is this going to stay a secret? The honest answer breaks their hearts a little. It might be forever. But Ilya tells them something else, too. In all his years, with everyone he's ever been with, Shane is the only one he has ever loved. They don't walk into a press conference and announce it to the world. That would have been easy, and easy was never what this story was chasing. Instead, they build something they can actually live inside. Shane sells the secret condo. Ilya sells his cars. Together, they start a charity, named in part for Ilya's mother, for youth hockey and suicide prevention. Ilya signs with a new team in a different city, and they both buy homes outside their team's reach, finally giving themselves the privacy they've never had in their entire careers. At the press conference announcing the charity, Ilya does something nobody expects, not even Shane. He talks about his mother publicly for the first time in his life. They still aren't out to the world as a couple. To the league, to most of Shane's teammates, they're still rivals on the ice, still trading insults every time their teams meet, still headline material for every sports network that's built a rivalry narrative around them without ever knowing the truth. 16 months after that cottage, Shane and Ilya face off against each other again, and Ilya trips him mid-play, and they exchange insults in front of a roaring crowd like nothing has changed at all. Shane has quietly come out to his own teammates by this point, though not about Ilya specifically. One of them, a teammate named Hayden, eventually puts the pieces together on his own, and even though it clearly unsettles him, he keeps their secret anyway, because that's what you do for someone you actually care about. But behind closed doors, something has shifted for good. They've stopped lying to each other. Late one night, long after that press conference, Ilya sits with the strange, quiet feeling of actually being accepted. Not just by Shane, but by Shane's entire family. People who once had no idea their son loved another man and are now the closest thing to a real home Ilya has left. When Shane texts him, Ilya doesn't hesitate anymore. He sends back a room number and goes to meet him, the same way he always has, except now it doesn't feel like hiding. It feels like choosing. Their rivalry fooled everyone. The league, the fans, the reporters who built entire careers narrating their hatred for each other, even Shane's own parents for a while. But 6 years of secrecy taught both of them something that no amount of trophies ever could. Love doesn't stay hidden forever. Shane and Ilya aren't ready to tell the world yet. Maybe they never fully will be, but they've stopped lying to each other. And that's where this story leaves them, not with the whole world knowing, but with the two of them, finally, fully known to one another. That's Heated Rivalry. If this one pulled you in the way it pulled me in, there's more of Shane and Ilya's story waiting. This is book 2 in a 6-book series, and their journey keeps going from here all the way to a newer installment where they're finally married and playing for the same team for the first time in their careers. Tell me in the comments, did the Sochi storyline hit you as hard as it hit me? Subscribe for more stories like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.